Now, Ruben Amorim has said that Manchester United will have to change the manager before he changes his philosophy, but he needs to tweak things. No question about that. And I want to talk about one tweak I think could help fix some of United's problems. Now, look, I'm not a tactical mastermind, but let me show you and explain what I mean here. And you can let me know what you change in the comments. Now, this is a video I was going to do during the international break, but I held back on it, and then, well, City happened. Ruben has got to tweak and change his team. All right, I'm going to run through the tactics. I'm going to run through one example where I think he can make a tweak that changes things, probably fixes United's main problem and helps others without really changing much. As I said, I'm not a master tactician. I'm not somebody who's going to get hired by a club. It's just an observation from a fan. All right, you can let me know in the comments what you think about this. But Ruben Amorim here. You know what I kind of think about this quote? It's like the idea of like, it won't change his philosophy. If they want to change, you change the man. I don't think a philosophy is a formation. You remember when Ruben first came in, he said, you keep obsessing about three playing at the back. A philosophy is like an underlying set of principles about how you play out possession, work rate, etc. In terms of the formation, I think that's something that has to be tweaked now, right? So I'm going to pull up a team here. I'm not saying this is United's best team. This is a team that's starting. No, it's not a team that's starting on Sunday because you've got Cunha in there. But this could be a starting. Let's say hypothetically, we're speaking about Chelsea, all right? I'm not going to run through what my predicted team is. I'll do that on Friday. But this could be a team that starts against Chelsea. Now, if you look at that team in its sort of like beginning positions, it's not actually too bad. You've actually got a good amount of bodies in midfield here, right? If they sort of occupied and stayed in that sort of shape the whole game, then it'll be all right. But kind of what you see happening is Mbeumo goes forward naturally, Cunha goes forward naturally, Šeško goes forward, and then all of a sudden, look at all that space you've got, right? That's the issue, is the midfield two keeps getting overran simply because it's a numbers game. So this is the change that I would like to see from Ruben Amorim. And to me, on paper, this feels really quite simple and basic, and it just involves, I say simple and basic, it feels quite basic. The reason I'm saying it is because I don't think this throws out the whole formation, right? All you do is this. Drop the number 9 into midfield, push the two number 10s forward to become split strikers. Instead of having two number 10s and one number 9, you have one number 10 and two number 9s. And by doing so, obviously, you then got to change who's in what position. So, for all intents and purposes, let me run through that as well. You're probably going to be moving Šeško up there. 1 second there. Let me take that off. You're probably going to go Šeško there. Would you go? This is where you're going to start going, right, okay, you won't have space to get Šeško and Mbeumo, Cunha and Bruno in every single starting 11, but that's fine. That's fine. That's a bit of quality in depth. Because Bruno has to come here, right? I need to bring on... Where is Cobby? Where's Cobby at? All right. Cobby's coming into this team. In midfield, alongside Casemiro. Bruno's going into one of the number 10 roles. Okay, so for right now, let's say that Mbeumo and Cunha play as those two, and Šeško's on the bench. You might say that this is therefore not the best way to get a lot out of Šeško, and I kind of agree on that. But that, for me, right there, creates this midfield trio, right? We need a 3 in midfield. I don't want to see then Bruno stretching, running up here. I want to see Bruno kind of operating in that sort of space there. That's Bruno's zone. Unfortunately for Bruno, kind of the way he plays, doesn't really happen. He kind of moves around a lot. But for me, that doesn't seem like too much of a switch. Whilst at the same time, you then bring a third body into midfield, you create a more natural number 10. You've then got two split strikers. And it just... Look, can somebody in the comments who understands a bit more than me when it comes to tactics? Is this a terrible idea? Is this a bad shout? Because it really doesn't seem like it to me, right? You've got 3 in midfield then, as I said. which is the main issue. You've got bodies in midfield. If we go into the Chelsea game, they play with a 3-4-3. They play with a diamond in midfield. Maresca's going to overrun our midfield. And if we go in with the exact same formation and approach that we went against City. Do I think that Ruben Amorim will want to play this long term? No, I don't. But do I think that right now it's the best thing to do whilst not going away from his overall philosophy? Because the majority of the team is the exact same setup. Yes. And I also think you might actually get more up front having split strikers. You've then got those guys who can probably still stay narrow because you've got Ahmad and you've got Dorgu going forward. It just makes sense to me. It just really makes sense. Instead of having one number 9 and two number 10, two number 10s on paper here who end up, right? Because as I said, if you were to stay in that formation there and you were to push forward and you were to do it as a team, you'd actually still have a pretty good setup there. You'd still have enough bodies. But the problem is, when United do go forward, right, largely, this happens. And Bumo stretches wide, Cunha stretches wide, and that should be Šeško for all intents and purposes. But the striker goes forward. And then you create that huge bloody gap there. And that's where we're still getting exploited. So for me, it just makes sense. Drop Bruno, make him the third midfielder. Cunha and Bumo and Šeško are now going to be fighting for 2 places. You might say, well, Stan, that kind of goes against what was the point then in going out and spending big on Šeško if you're not going to have the ability to get all 3 of them into a team? And I kind of agree with you on that one. That is a bit of a faux pas, but we knew it was a faux pas. United not going for a central midfielder. That was my choice after we signed Cunha and Bumo, but we went for Šeško instead. Either way, that, I think, mitigates some of United's problems right now. Certainly in the short term, and it's only one shift. Ruben, if you don't find a way, there's 2 ways where how things turn around under United. One is Amorim tweaks his system, brings in new ideas, just slightly refreshed ideas, and it helps United maybe get a little bit more control in the game, maybe a little bit more control in midfield, maybe creating even more opportunities. That's one way of doing it. Number 2, United finding the back of the net. Scoring goals makes everything easier. One is not in his control. The players have to take their chances. The second is in his control. And in my opinion, just simply doing that, creating that third midfielder, helps United no end. Now, you can let me know what you think in the comments, as you always do, but I think if Ruben Amorim just plows on as it is now, and we go into this Chelsea game and we start with like Ugarte and Bruno in midfield, and Maresca's just going to set it up to overload the midfield again. And it will be overloaded. And part of the issue as well is also the pressing structure. I don't really need to get into that in this video, but just my take. It's just one thing I would do to try and help fix, change, improve Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. Because, yeah, it needs to be improved.